Now, I'm no expert at naming Fakemon. Just look at Squoo, a square moo. Creative. However, I recently got an email with one simple request. Hello, I watch your videos, but can you please make a how to name your Pokemon video? Please don't reply, but take this seriously, because I am trash at naming Fakemon. Thanks. P.S. You'll never know my name. At first I thought, it's been about 4 years since I last posted a Fakemon tutorial. In fact, so much time has passed that I thought I had totally outgrown that area of content, but there has been a revival of sorts since those days. Fakemon are so much more popular than they've ever been before, and there are still so many people out there giving Fakemon creation a go. In fact, my most popular video on YouTube is still one of my very first videos, how to make a Fakemon. So just for a little research, I decided to post a poll to see if the interest in tutorials is still there, and would you look at that, you're hungry for more. So sit down, get out your notepads, and let me teach you how to name your wonderful Fakemon. Step 1. Make a Fakemon. Okay, so first things first, you will need a Fakemon to name. Some people do like to make names before creating the design, and that's perfectly valid, so if that's how you work, then by all means don't let me stop you. You can just save this step for whenever it best suits your process. Now, I've already got tutorials about making Fakemon on my channel, hence the how to make a Fakemon, but they are indeed ancient, so let me rehash on the main points based on my own updated process. Firstly, decide on a typing. If you're working on a Fakedix, then I find doing all of your planning on an Excel sheet to be very handy, especially when you have a lot of creatures to juggle around. Since I don't have a name at this stage, I'll put in placeholder notes like fish, big fish, and terrifying ice monster. And you can see how these little notes contribute to the final design. I then do some sketches, usually only 1 or 2, and then work on the best parts to finalize a design with. Finally, I work on the final artwork, also known as the key art or official art, and voila, we have a Fakemon ready to place a name tag on. This brings us to step 2, refer to your inspirations. What I mean by this is going back to your original reference material. This could be anything such as the creatures you drew inspiration from, any objects that impacted the design, as well as things like its habitat and the setting it exists in. For example, let's take a look at Porphyro. What the heck is this thing? Okay, let's break it down. For the creature, I loosely based it on a ghost-like figure and also drew inspiration from deep-sea creatures like jellyfish and squid, which influenced the color. I then thought about where it would exist, most likely haunted areas like woods and abandoned buildings. It would most likely be nocturnal too, the dark being a common fear. When I thought of it being this scary, ghostly sort of thing, I kept linking it back to the concept of fear. Fear of what though? Well, it's very purple. This made me think about Pokemon in general and how they don't always need to have some kind of deep meaning to them, and especially with a Fakemon like this, which in my canon doesn't have much of an impact to any sort of narrative that plays out in the regions. I figured it was okay to be a little silly goofy with its origins, so I ended up naming it Porphyro. The breakdown of that name is porphyrophobia, which is the fear of the color purple. Because that root word is one that describes fear, I decided to merge fear into the name, and the rho at the end just completes the name using the other end of Porphyro, part of the root word, the result being Porphyro. Even though the final name sounds like a total key smash, it does have its root words which draw from the inspiration of the design. This name specifically is a portmanteau, which is a word that is a blend of other words. You actually see portmanteaus very commonly in Pokemon, especially in the Hoenn town and city names, Little Root, Slateport, Lily Cove, and so on. But if portmanteaus are not your thing, then look no further than step 3, experimentation. Sometimes it's easy enough to come up with a portmanteau and be done with the name, and actually I commonly stop at step 2 myself. You don't need to go too far at times. However, there are circumstances where you may want to push the name of your Fakemon even further. Maybe you could include root words from other languages. We see this in official Pokemon, maybe the most famous example being the legendary birds Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, which each have the Spanish words uno, dos, and tres, meaning 1, 2, and 3, because they're a trio. We've seen it a lot in the recent generation, with Pokemon like Florigato, Armarouge, Tatsugiri, and Flamigo. Autocorrect is not a fan of that last one. You can also just decide on one word and play with alternate spellings or make an anagram, which is when you rearrange the letters to make a new word. Pokemon like Seal and Ghastly being respellings, Rotom being motor backwards, and Rabsca being an anagram of Scarab all do this. A Fakemon of mine doing this is Flishy. It's just fishy with an L in the name. I also did this with Fwishbone, which is just wishbone with an F to make it also sound like fishbone. Sometimes your names can really just be that simple. I encourage you to experiment with names that you want to take further than just a portmanteau. I also think that you'll have a lot of fun doing so. Now it is the final step, which is step 4, gibberish, sort of. I like to call these names educated gibberish. I mean, you can really just name your Fakemon whatever you want, but I don't know if many people will understand your cat Fakemon with a name like Jasodip. That's just a key smash. It's actually quite hard to come up with random gibberish on the spot. Usually if I go for a gibberish name, there may still be a root word in there. Let's look at Magital. I mean, okay, it's a magic type, so mage is a given, but what does Tal mean? Absolutely nothing. I just put it in there because I think it sounds pleasing to the ears. Another way you may want to tackle this technique is by using onomatopoeia. These are words that spell out sounds, sort of. So things like ha 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 for laughing and whoosh for whoosh. I can't take myself seriously sometimes. Those sorts of sounds. I've done this with Boitlip because it kind of sounds like tweet and the extra letters just sounded nice around it. Kitsy is also another that comes to mind. I just imagined that it was the sound it would squeak out. The biggest example of this in real Pokemon would be none other than Pikachu. Pikachu's name is completely comprised of onomatopoeia. In Japanese, Pika Pika is the onomatopoeia for sparkle, and Chuchu is the sound a mouse makes. And what is Pikachu exactly? Electricity rat. Now this next part is sort of grounds for a part 5, but it's very short, so it's more like a pro tip, for lack of better terms. If you have a Fakemon that you've designed to be part of the official Pokemon world, like a fan evolution, or the Fakemon is a type of Pokemon that is directly derived from a certain flavor, like a Paradox Pokemon, then you should look into how your inspirations from the canon franchise are named. For example, if you make an evolution, then you would probably want to use a root word that best describes its typing or most obvious basis and then put Eon at the end. So for example, if I wanted to make a fighting type evolution, I would probably call it Brawleon. Maybe you made a future Paradox Pokemon. Well, in the canon, these Pokemon are iron something that describes what it is. That something can really just be a real word from the dictionary. They don't really make up words for that part of them for some reason. So for example, we have Iron Hands. It is iron, it has hands. And maybe you've made a Paradox Pokemon and it's a Marill with its ears turned into satellites. Well then, Iron Satellite it is. Of course, you can name them whatever you want, but if you're after that official flavor, then it's best to stick with established naming conventions. Well then, that's all I really got for you. To be honest, I wasn't actually 100% sure on how I would make an entire video about naming Fakemon because for 90% of mine, I just kind of come up with the name on the spot. Like maybe I've thought about it while drawing and then when the time comes to save my file, I just key smash something in like hoo-ha, which is a hoo-hoo grub. Okay. I hope my words of wisdom have helped you. Please don't take these points too seriously. I'm more or less just here to help guide you rather than provide a textbook way of doing things, if that makes sense. It has been so long since I've done tutorials on Fakemon, but it has been super nice seeing them be more popular than ever before. So if you have any burning questions about making Fakemon, anything you want me to explain in more detail, then please leave me a comment or you can reach out on Twitter. I've been doing this for like 7 years almost, so I know a thing or two, but don't email me. I know this video is the result of an email, but I ain't taking email requests from now on. Just stick to the comments down below or @tweet me. Now go and name your Fakemon and tell me your names. I want to know them. Put them in the comments. Thank you. Bye. Hello. It's been like 9 months since I've actually done an end card where I say stuff and update you all on my exciting life. Well, do I have the update for you. Regulars on my Twitch would have noticed that I have not been streaming at all for the past couple of months, which is because I am moving my streams to YouTube. I want to start in August, I just have to finish making my new VTuber model, which is very exciting and I really want to show it to all of you. But yeah, stay tuned for an announcement video sometime soon. I'm going to do one of those like silly 20-second update videos or something like that. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. For now, I do have that fancy join button, which is right next to the subscribe button. You can become a member of the channel, where at the moment I have emotes for use in the comments, and I'll also be making community posts with early peeks at upcoming content. So if that's your thing, be sure to join. At 8 members, I think I can display your names on my channel page and potentially the descriptions. I'm not too sure how it works, but I'll check it again. But yeah, that would be really awesome if we could do that. Finally, just a huge thank you for all of the recent support. I've seen a huge influx of new viewers, so if you're not subscribed, I recommend doing so, and then you won't miss any of the new content. I've got a lot more like Fakemon, Pokemon stuff to come. It's kind of been the thing this year. I'm a Poketuber again. So yeah, if you're enjoying the content, then please subscribe, and then you won't miss anything that I post next. Anyways, that is all I have for you. I'll see you guys next time.